Hello everyone, and how you doing? So before the video starts, this is in fact a re-upload. What happened is the original video, I did not do enough research on what I could use the music for Cuphead. I used some stuff from the original soundtrack, and so when I incorrectly used some of it, of course it got copyright claimed. Don't freak out, they were in the right to claim me, and so since they were in the right, even though I was told I didn't have to take the video down, I did anyways, just out of principle, and because I didn't want to incorrectly be using the music. And so I decided to use the opportunity to try something different, which is narrating what exactly I'm doing in a voiceover afterwards, watching the time lapse. And then that way I can explain to you all what I'm doing as I'm doing it. I am recording this live, so I'm just watching the time lapse as I say all this, so timing might be a little off. It might be a little awkward the first couple times around, but I think this is going to be a good working system because personally I like time lapses because they give you a chance to see how exactly people are pulling certain things off. But when it's going so fast, it can be difficult. So having the person actually saying what they're doing and explaining it really helps. So I think it'll work very well. I like the idea. It's not too hard to do. So it's a little bit of extra effort that goes a long way, I think. Let me know what you guys think, and of course, I will see you guys in the next video. But for now, enjoy the video. Alright, so of course I'm starting off by finding some reference images and kind of deciding what I want to do. Now, what I've done here is use the ruler tool in Paint Tool Psi to make two circles, and I deformed the second one and use those to give me the construction for Cuphead's cup head. Erase the top half of the circle, and then since the second circle kind of got that back line thinned out from being deformed, I reselect them and thicken up all the lines that I want to keep. I do that a lot throughout the entire drawing of the line work process. Then go back to some of my reference art and decide what I want to do with the facial features, the eyes, the nose, and the mouth. The eyes in particular took me a little longer than they should have. I spent a very long time trying to get the inner edge of the lines for the pupils clean when I really shouldn't have bothered, because they just get filled in black later, so it's not really as important to have that inner edge clean as it is to have the outer edge, but I spend a lot of time later in line work trying to get that just right. Now obviously the cup for his head does have some width, so I select the top circle, copy it, and then bring it in some. And I do that to create the depth for the inner edge of the cup. Then I've got to come up with how I want the straw and how I want whatever fluid is in there. I got to come up with how exactly I want that. I end up adjusting the straw a few times throughout this drawing, so what you're seeing here is definitely not the final form. It kind of expands out later. And then I've got the fluid. I want to call it milk. I'm honestly not sure what it is. Probably alcohol or something. I don't know. Who cares? I mean, the whole game looks like you're on some serious drugs, or like really fucking drunk out of your mind, so I wouldn't be surprised if it was alcohol. This part of the body construction changes because I end up not liking how the lower half ends up looking, so I end up cutting out all but the hand that I'm doing now, because I actually was pretty happy with how it came out, but I did end up having to redo the hand a couple times and tweaking some things on it too. Like this line at the bottom left edge, like that has to go out and around, not just come into that farthest left finger, and I figured that out right here. There we go. Good contrast. Figured it out. Now that I've got kind of everything roughed in, I'm going to start trying to clean up some of the line work and finalize some of it. And this is the point where I start realizing that I'm not entirely sure what to do with like the other arm or the lower body. So I kind of move the pose around, I grow things some more, move it to another part of the screen, and later on I come up with a better way to make this a bit more interesting. I was going to have like some text on the screen, but later I come up with the like firing a laser idea that I came up with before. So at this point I've just begun finalizing some of the line work because I think I'm pretty happy with the pose as is. I'm still messing with the hand and the arm some. I end up reiterating that like 5 or 6 times before I'm actually happy with it. And I end up spending far longer than I should have, not just on the eyes, but on the entire piece as a whole, trying to make the line work overly clean, especially when I start filling for the colors. I spend a lot of time trying to make the line work still pop when I really didn't need to. Now, this was at the point where I had come up with the shooting idea because I had been looking for like quotes and things. I wanted to put text, but then I came up with the idea for having him firing off a shot. And this is where things get a little interesting with some of the lighting. So I draw out the line work for what I want the effect to look like. And then this is on a separate layer, so I can alter it however I want. Get rid of some of the stray lines that I don't want, and then I can just select the entire layer, which of course is just that part of it, and then I can change the color to anything I want really easily. Here I'm playing with some of the luminosity settings and adding some blur. I'm copying it and adding a bigger one that's kind of zoomed out and blurring it to give a sort of glow effect. I end up having to try and experiment with this because this is the first time I've done this thing. There are a couple things that I had just come up with in this drawing alone. So a lot of these are new ideas to me, so there's a lot of experimenting that you're seeing going on right now. But this is what I was talking about here. What's going on right now is spending far too long trying to make all the line work super perfect, which is definitely something I learned that I need to look out for in my future projects. This certainly isn't one of my best pieces, although I am happy with how it turned out. Looking back at the finished product, there's some things that I'd like to change, and I actually have an idea for completely remastering this piece and drawing it in a totally different style. And I think it'll look really good, a much grittier style. Like, Cuphead's fucking pissed. Cuphead's about to wreck your whole life. Much sharper and angular lines instead of all the smooth curves. Much grittier shading as opposed to the smoother, more cartoonish shading that it currently features. So let me know if you guys want to see that in the comments below, because I've got some pretty cool ideas and I think it'll be a lot of fun. I also didn't quite finish the lighting. The background could have used a gradient just to not look so flat, and I did the lighting later. I end up doing the lighting from the shot because, of course, that does illuminate the area around his hand, the area around his face. The parts near that energy are going to be illuminated, obviously, which, like I said before, I use some blurring to achieve that effect. But the opposite side of him is obviously going to be darker. If one side's lighter, the other side's likely to be darker, and that's what I forgot to do on this piece before I finalized it. But those are all things that, you know, you make projects, you finish stuff, you learn, and then you do better the next time. And here was what I was talking about, of taking way too long to try and get the eye right, and then realizing, oh wait, they just get filled in black, so I don't need to be worrying about it so much. There it is, you figured it out, contrast, good job. Now is the point where I start adding color to things shortly after I finish this line work for the straw and drink, and of course for his mouth. And this is also where the straw gets reiterated for like the third time. But finally the last time as well. I didn't want these lines at the top and bottom, those curves, I didn't want them to connect. However, I wanted to use paint bucket fills to get the color in there. So what you might not have seen there in the time lapse is I actually, on the same layer that the straw is on, I copied the background color, that gray, and I drew that in between the space where the curved line isn't touching the straight part of the straw line. And so since there's pixels in the way, the paint bucket fill won't go outside of the straw. Clever little trick. I don't remember what I was doing here. I think I was just trying to mask stuff, not remembering that Psy works a little differently. Oh yeah, there's me doing the part with the background really quick. Hard to see in the time lapse, but now you see what I mean. So this is why it ends up having been useless to try so hard with line work, because I end up having to really thicken everything later because the paint bucket fills really thin a lot of it out. And I'm going to have to come up with a better way to actually fill in color at some point or another in the future. It works a little better if I just mask the area and then draw it in myself instead of using the paint bucket tool, because the paint bucket tool kind of pushes at the edge of the pixels of the black lines, whereas if you just draw within the masked area, it doesn't like try and push against the edges, if that makes any sense. But yeah, this was my first time really using Psy to make a digital drawing. I've always used Photoshop up until now, so getting used to Psy has been a little bit strange, but I definitely like how some of its tools work a lot better than Photoshop for sure. So here I'm just doing the color, awkwardly struggling with the mouth a little bit, and then realizing that my original idea was much better, because that did not look good at all. So I just go to a simple mouth, and boom, problem solved. And then here's the fun part with the lighting. On a different layer, I actually take a low density pen, and in the same energy color is what I hit everything first, kind of around the hand, like you're seeing here, and then around the areas that are going to be lit. And then I take an even smaller brush with a lighter blue, and then I do the same thing again with a white. And so that creates a really interesting lighting effect, and this is the final product of that. So, is it my best work? No, certainly not. But I learned a lot of things about the software I'm using. I learned a lot of interesting new tricks, and I have some ideas for what I want to do in the future. So, all in all, I would call it a success. I'd say it's acceptable. People seem to really enjoy it, hence why I'm going through the effort of re uploading it. Um, and I think I'll definitely be able to make better stuff in the future. I have some more ideas. I am still working on Vegeta as of now, but as you can see, I still have a bit to learn before I tackle that project, because Vegeta is certainly not easy to draw, but I hope that I will see you guys there when I do. But for now, have a great night. I'll see you in the next video. Peace.